Hey everyone, welcome to this week's tutorial on ProRPA.com. Today, we'll be talking about process stage. So we have discussed similar stuff or similar capabilities before, but the minute difference is something with the process stage, in context of the process stage is what we'll be discussing today, right? So I can't emphasize more on the fact that make your process, like whichever you're trying to automate, as modular as possible, right? It's really very important. Trust me, I've been on those in those situations where I was simply just getting the job done, getting all the complex process done within the same bot itself, and as a result, it came to a point when it became really difficult to roll back to an optimal working solutions, because sometimes you get delved too much into working into getting your solution right, or to be capable enough that you lose the big picture, you lose the sight of the big picture, right? So a process stage is something that's going to help you achieve this modularity that I'm talking about, and it also like many features, right, that we talk about, like the process, the efficiency, the time taken, the money that a client may save when the process has been automated and stuff. But another possible or another very crucial aspect of an RPA is scalability, right? So by scalability, what we mean is that today you have one working solution, tomorrow you want to build something on top of it, right? Then you don't have to do the development from the scratch. You can leverage those existing capabilities and start building on top of it right there and then, right? And this process stage is what helps you in achieving in the scalability and this modularity that I'm talking about. So I have used in the blog post an example of how honeybees, create honey, right, from the nectar of the flowers and stuff. And it may seem that, okay, honeybee just goes and gets the juice out of the flower and create the honey, but no, there's a series of steps involved. And to understand this as well, this is a very usual, a day-to-day scenario that I try to do analogy from. So once you want to, let's say if you are asked to understand the whole concept of this honeybees, then divide the problem into smaller parts and then understand each of those parts and then finally integrate it together to get the wholesome picture of how the process works, right? And that's something that you would want to do even in your IT corporate world. So what you would want to do is, another example that I took is, which I actually deal with pretty much on a daily basis, is when we're trying to automate something with the SAP, right? Then we do login, we do first launch, then we do the login, and then we enter some transaction codes and stuff, and then we do the extraction or manipulation or entering of data, whatever the case may be, right? So let's say I have a process ready which is going to launch the SAP application, and the second process is going to log into that application. Then I don't have to build all these things again, although these are very simpler examples. But okay, another possible example you can think of is I currently am getting the general ledger out of for fiscal year 2019, right? I'm getting the general ledger, the financial ledger information out. Now I want to get the financial ledger, but in my version 2.0 of this program, of this RPA bot, I also want to get assets information, right? Then in that case, I'm gonna extract it, and whatever the last stage is, I'll build from that next stage onwards, leveraging the already existing capabilities of getting the financial ledger information out, right? And assets could be like the second one, and then you can trigger both of them together, right? Like through either a separate bot or in the same bot itself, like that depends. So if it didn't make sense, like what I just talked about, it's all right. I would ask you to first go through the blog post, because it's going to make much more sense. learning the article, or going through the article first and then coming to this video. And you can check out the link for this blog article in the description of this video as well. Okay, so in here, this is how a process stage looks like, right? It's got a box and it's got like these two lines as well. It's like a concatenated box sort of thing, right? And what it does is, you can see the process, it looks right here as well. And it usually has like an input parameter, which is like number of iterations to see how many number of times you want to try working on this particular process and, you know, get this executed. But you can take that out as well or not put any value, which means it will be executed only once. So nothing much to worry upon. And it also has an output parameter, which we have discussed the arguments and the parameters, right? Like passing of data from one place to another. Precisely the same concept, right? If you remember, I explicitly mentioned, go to the sub node. In this case, it's going to be the sub process. And then go to its start or the end stage, whatever the case may be, and you'll be able to get all this information automatically. So I'm gonna delve into that, like in this example that I already have here. And then we have a drop down where we can select what all different processes are available in this current system. I have a launch, I have a login, and I have a trial one. Trial one is where I am working on right now. So you don't want to go to its start again and again, right? So, but in case there may be some cases where you're keeping a track of the loops or something like that, and you want to start from the beginning of the same process itself, so you may do that as well. Okay, but I want to launch my training order application. That's what I'm trying to do. And if we go and see how the training order is looking like actually, let's probably open the launch as well. And launching is simply opening like that launch. It's just simply accessing a business object where it is launching the training order application. We are going to go through the business objects or the object studio as per se later in the blog article, but we did touch upon it like before, so it shouldn't come as a surprise, right? So we have launched, and then I'm trying to do the login as well. And with the login, what I'm trying to do is I'm passing on these parameters, two parameters, which you see username and the password, the values for which are provided in the username and the password local data items, which is here, and I have the BP and the password as the username and the password default values. Now this value will be transferred to the process. Let's look at the process once. Here's the login process, right? And in here, I have the username and the password data items, which are simply gonna store the values that we received from the main process, which is the trial one process, right? In this case. So it got these values, it stored them here. And what is it gonna do? Because the login operation is gonna happen at the object level, so it will also pass on these two values to this particular business object called trial one, and under it we have an action called login, right? I'm going to show this one because this is going to be a little typical. So these are the values that we have wrapped into the same name, uname and the pass, and I kept it consistent, but you can definitely make it different, and it shouldn't matter. And then we have the business object here, the trial one, and in here we have the login operation, and in here is where you will get the user ID, username and the password, which will be received from here, right? So here we got the username and the password from login process, which in turn got its username and the password from the trial one process, right? So you see the hierarchy. First, it's trial one, which has the values. It's wrapping them into username and the password arguments, and passing on the value to the process called login. And the login again is wrapping up the data into the same name, username and the password, and it's passing it on to the business object level. And here at the business object level is where the actual credentials are being entered. So we're gonna go through business objects, so don't worry if it doesn't if it doesn't resonate completely. I hope it does, but on and all, that's how the process stage works in Blue Prism, right? You can I can also show you, this is how it is. You can do any other process that you may have, which let's say is either specific to my like the training order application or whatever the target application is, or if you want to, let's say another example. like my training order application that I have actually gets me some orders entered into the system. That's what the training order application does. It's actually like a dummy application, but I'm making a use case here. And the other process that I want is to read all the data from an Excel, from a specific worksheet of an Excel. So instead of me trying to do that, I can simply call a process. If that process already exists in the system, I can simply call that process. It will read it and it will close the Excel, and I'm all pretty much done, right? That makes my work so easy. I'm simply leveraging the existing capabilities and building new capabilities, right? I just merged two separate capabilities, and now this data that I have read, I can use it to input my data into the training order application, right? So that's how process stage is used. And if we run this, I'll show you. It's simply going to launch and log into this particular and BP and the password. Those are the two values it entered, and the credentials have been successfully done. Now, if you want to try out some random, username and the password and see if that works or not, because these are the values I'm putting up in here, right? And password, well, it won't show up, but it's okay. With the username, we can confirm that. So just run this and launch, log in and see the staff number and the password. See, it won't. It didn't sign in. So we are passing on the value from first process to the sub process, and then from that process to the business object. But the methodology of passing on the values is exactly the same as we discussed in the input output parameters, right? I guess 2 weeks back itself we discussed that. So that is it. Very important stage. I would ask you to please try that out. Create some or any random processes and try to call them from a different process itself. Make it as the parent process, and then use the other existing capabilities as the child processes, and try to work on that and see if you're able to get several capabilities or several different applications also that can happen. You can work on different applications at the same time by using simply the process stage. All right, that is pretty much it for this week. From next week onwards, we'll be delving into the Object Studio, right? We'll be talking about the business objects. We did touch upon it briefly before, but now we'll be delving more into it, and we'll be talking at the granular level. And now, like we just saw that we launched and logged into an application, but how we actually launch, I mean, what are the different stages at the object level that we do, or how do we directly interact with any target application? Those are the capabilities that we'll be talking about from next week onwards. All right, so stay tuned, and please feel free to provide your comments, subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the blog. Provide your comments, likes, shares, your feedback. It's very important, keeps us very motivated and enthusiastic to bring up more and more content for you guys. And if there are any suggestions, any improvements, please do let us know, and happy automating. Goodbye. Thank you very much.